My beloved child, before you allow your heart to believe every silent moment, let your spirit become still for just a little longer. There are seasons when distance seems louder than words, and unanswered questions begin creating stories that were never spoken aloud. That is why you must not rush ahead of what is slowly unfolding. The thought that someone is avoiding you because they no longer care can feel painfully convincing, yet the truth is often far more layered than the first emotion that reaches your heart. Don't skip, because what you are about to understand has the power to change the way you see every quiet moment that has been confusing you. There is a sentence that has been echoing inside someone's mind, but it is not as simple as it first appears. It begins with appearances, yet it has very little to do with beauty. It begins with comparison, yet it ends with recognition. The person you keep thinking about has been looking at you through memories they have never fully healed, and every time they believe they have understood you, another small detail quietly changes everything. They have whispered to themselves, "Maybe they look like." And then the sentence stopped before it could finish, because what they were trying to describe was not your face, it was the feeling you awakened inside them. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you. People often believe they walk away from another person because of certainty, but many times they step back because they cannot explain the emotions growing inside them. That hesitation creates distance. That distance creates misunderstanding. And misunderstanding quietly disguises itself as rejection. You have been watching from one side of the silence, while they have been standing on the other, wondering if what they feel even makes sense. This is why the story cannot be understood from only one glance. A deeper realization is approaching, and when it arrives, the unfinished words they have been carrying will finally begin to make sense, but that moment has not arrived just yet. A quiet realization is beginning to surface, and it does not arrive with noise, it arrives with the small details most people overlook. Have you noticed how silence can sometimes carry more meaning than 100 hurried conversations? That is where this story continues. The distance between you has not been empty, it has been filled with thoughts that neither of you could hear. While you wondered why they seemed to pull away, they found themselves replaying moments they believed they had already left behind. Each memory returned with a different emotion, and each emotion reshaped the sentence they kept trying to finish. They told themselves, "They look like someone." Yet every comparison faded before it became complete. It was never truly about another person. It was about the familiar feeling of hope that frightened them because it asked them to be honest with themselves. Don't skip, because the next piece changes everything. They began to realize that avoiding you was easier than facing the questions growing inside their own heart. Sometimes people step back not because they have stopped caring, but because they fear what caring might require from them. That fear can disguise itself as indifference, even when it is nothing of the sort. From where you stand, their silence appears intentional. From where they stand, every quiet moment feels like a test they do not know how to pass. Something important is waiting for you, because the words they have never spoken are closer to the surface than either of you realizes. Soon, an unexpected memory will return to them, a moment so ordinary that almost everyone else would have forgotten it. Yet for them, it becomes the key that unlocks the meaning behind everything they have been unable to say. And when that memory arrives, the unfinished sentence they have carried for so long will finally begin to reveal its true ending. There is another layer to this story that reveals itself only to those who are patient enough to notice what others ignore. The loudest answers rarely arrive first. Instead, they hide behind ordinary moments that seem almost too small to matter. Stay till the end. Because one of those moments is about to change the meaning of everything you have been wondering. The person on your heart recently paused longer than usual when your name entered their thoughts. It was not planned. It happened in the middle of an ordinary day, when nothing around them seemed remarkable. Yet without warning, they remembered the calmness you carried, the kindness they once overlooked, and the quiet strength they could never quite explain. Suddenly, the sentence they had been repeating inside themselves shifted once again. They look like. They whispered in their mind, but this time the comparison was no longer about another face. It was about a feeling they had been searching for in many places without realizing they had already encountered it once before. That realization unsettled them in the gentlest way. They began questioning whether they had mistaken distance for clarity. Sometimes people convince themselves that walking away will make their emotions disappear, only to discover that silence gives those emotions even more room to grow. They wondered if avoiding you had truly protected them, or if it had only delayed a truth they were not ready to face. Don't skip, because the next realization is even more personal. While you have been searching for visible signs, something far quieter has been taking shape beneath the surface. Every memory they revisit seems slightly different now, as though time has softened the edges and revealed details they never appreciated before. What once looked ordinary now feels unexpectedly meaningful. But the most surprising moment has not happened yet. Very soon, they will come across something that reminds them of you in the most unexpected way, not because it looks exactly like you, but because it carries the same quiet presence they can no longer ignore. When that happens, the sentence they have struggled to complete will finally move beyond comparison, and into a realization they never expected themselves to accept. The next piece does not arrive like a dramatic confession. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed, the way dawn slowly replaces the night without asking for attention. That is how certain truths enter a person's heart. They are not forced. They are discovered. Don't skip. Because what happens next is easy to miss if you are only looking for obvious signs. The one who has been keeping their distance has started noticing something unexpected. Every time they tried to convince themselves they had moved on, another gentle reminder found its way into their day. A familiar conversation. A passing smile from a stranger. A quiet evening that felt strangely incomplete. None of these moments looked extraordinary on their own, yet together they began forming a picture they could no longer ignore. Then, almost without realizing it, they returned to the unfinished sentence that had been following them for so long. They look like. But this time, the words changed before they reached the end. It was no longer about comparing you to someone else. It became something much deeper. They look like the kind of peace I kept searching for. That thought surprised even them. It wasn't an answer they expected, and because it felt unfamiliar, they questioned it instead of embracing it. Sometimes the heart recognizes something valuable long before the mind is willing to believe it. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you. There is a difference between walking away from a person and walking away from your own feelings. One creates distance. The other creates reflection. They are beginning to discover that the silence they believed would erase their emotions has only given those emotions more room to speak. Every quiet day has become another page in a story they thought had already ended. Yet the ending refuses to arrive because an unanswered question continues to linger within them. And soon, that question will become impossible to ignore. A simple, ordinary moment, one they never planned for, will gently challenge everything they believed about why they stepped back in the first place. When that moment arrives, they will finally understand that the sentence they kept trying to finish was never really describing your appearance at all. It was describing the place your presence quietly created within their heart, and that realization is only beginning. A single quiet moment can reveal more than months of restless thinking, and that moment is drawing closer than either of you realizes. The heart has a remarkable way of returning to what truly matters, even after it has tried to look somewhere else. That is why this story has never been about distance alone. It has always been about understanding what the silence was trying to teach. Stay till the end, because another piece of this mystery is about to unfold. The person you have been thinking about has begun noticing a pattern they cannot easily explain. Whenever they imagine a future without you in it, something feels unfinished. Not dramatic. Not overwhelming. Just quietly incomplete. At first they dismissed the feeling, believing it would fade with time. But instead, it grew clearer. The more they tried to avoid thinking about you, the more unexpected reminders appeared. A familiar phrase. A place they once overlooked. Even a peaceful evening carried a sense that someone important was missing from the picture. Then another realization appeared, softer than the last. They finally understood why they had struggled to finish that sentence for so long. It was never because they couldn't find the right comparison. It was because no comparison truly fit. What they had been searching for in other people was not another face or another personality. It was the quiet comfort they experienced whenever your presence entered their thoughts. That realization surprised them, because they had spent so much energy convincing themselves the opposite was true. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you. Sometimes the greatest change begins when someone stops asking, "Why did I walk away?" and starts asking, "What was I afraid to feel?" That single question has started echoing inside them. Instead of finding certainty, they are discovering honesty. Instead of finding reasons to stay distant, they are uncovering reasons they never allowed themselves to acknowledge before. Yet there is still one final piece missing. Very soon, an unexpected conversation, or even a single sentence spoken by someone who knows them well, will gently bring everything into focus. It will connect the scattered thoughts they have been carrying and reveal why this journey could never end with avoidance alone. And when that moment arrives, the truth they have been resisting will finally become impossible to ignore. The story changes again, not because someone suddenly speaks, but because silence begins revealing what words have been unable to express. There comes a point when the heart grows tired of pretending it has no questions left. That moment has quietly arrived. Don't skip, because the next realization may be the one that ties every earlier moment together. For days, they believed they were protecting themselves by keeping a careful distance. It seemed easier to remain quiet than to risk misunderstanding their own emotions. But something unexpected happened. Instead of feeling lighter, they felt increasingly aware of everything they had tried to set aside. The memories they once brushed away no longer disappeared so easily. They returned with remarkable clarity, not because they demanded attention, but because they carried a quiet sense of truth. Then an ordinary thought appeared without warning. If I truly wanted to leave this behind, why does it still matter to me? They had no immediate answer. That question lingered throughout the day, following them into moments of stillness. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was simply honest. And honesty has a gentle way of opening doors that fear always keeps closed. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you. The sentence they struggled to complete has transformed once again. It is no longer, they look like. It has become, they remind me of the kind of person who makes life feel calmer than I realized. That thought surprised them more than anything else. They had been searching for reasons to stay distant, yet they kept discovering reasons to pause and reflect instead. What they are beginning to understand is that true connection is rarely recognized in moments of excitement alone. More often, it is discovered in the quiet absence that makes someone realize what brought peace into their life. That realization cannot be rushed. It unfolds one small piece at a time, until it becomes impossible to overlook. And now, another unexpected moment is approaching. Someone will say something completely ordinary, just a few simple words. But those words will awaken a memory they have not revisited in a long time. In that instant, the final pieces will begin falling into place, and they will see this entire journey from a perspective they never imagined, yet the deepest realization is still waiting just ahead. There is a quiet turning point in every meaningful story, and it almost never announces itself. It arrives gently, hidden inside an ordinary day that seems no different from the one before it. Yet when that day has passed, nothing inside the heart remains exactly the same. Stay till the end, because this is where everything begins to connect in ways neither of you expected. Without planning to, they found themselves speaking about you, not in a long conversation, not in an emotional confession, but in a single unexpected moment. Someone mentioned your name, and instead of changing the subject as they had done before, they paused. That pause lasted only a few seconds, yet inside it lived countless unspoken thoughts. They realized they were no longer trying to convince themselves that distance had solved anything. Instead, they were quietly wondering why your presence still carried such a lasting impression. Then another realization surfaced, softer than a whisper. They remembered the qualities they once overlooked because they had been searching for something louder, something more dramatic. Now they could finally see what had been there all along. Your patience. Your sincerity. The calm way you carried yourself even when life felt uncertain. Those were not ordinary qualities after all. They were the very things they had been hoping to find without realizing they had already encountered them. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you. The sentence that once sounded incomplete has changed once again. It is no longer about how you looked. It is about how you made them feel whenever they remembered who you truly were. They are beginning to understand that appearances fade into the background when someone leaves behind a lasting sense of peace, kindness, and quiet strength. That realization has been impossible for them to ignore, no matter how hard they tried to move past it. Yet one final question continues to echo inside them. If these feelings have remained through every season of silence, what should they do next? They have not answered that question yet. They are still standing at the edge of it, gathering the courage to face what their own heart has been revealing little by little. And just ahead, an unexpected encounter, perhaps no more than a brief exchange or a familiar reminder, will gently push them toward a decision they have delayed for far too long. When that moment arrives, the meaning behind every quiet pause, every unfinished sentence, and every unanswered thought will become clearer than ever before, but the final chapter has not yet been written, the final pieces never rush into place. They arrive quietly, almost respectfully, as though they have been waiting for the right moment all along. This is one of those moments. The silence that once felt confusing is beginning to reveal its purpose. Don't skip. Because something important is waiting for you, and it has been growing beneath the surface far longer than you realize. Recently, they caught themselves smiling at a memory they had not intended to revisit. It appeared without invitation, carrying no drama and no urgency, only a quiet warmth they could not explain. For the first time, they stopped resisting it. Instead of pushing the thought away, they allowed it to remain. And as they did, another truth gently unfolded. They had spent so much time trying to understand your appearance, your words, and your actions that they had overlooked the one thing that mattered most, the peace they consistently felt whenever your memory returned. That was the moment everything shifted. The unfinished sentence that had echoed through their mind for so long finally reached its real meaning. It was never, "They look like someone I want to leave behind." It quietly became, "They look like someone whose kindness stayed with me long after the moment was over." Those words surprised them because they came from a place they had stopped listening to, the honest part of their own heart. Stay till the end, because the journey is moving towards something even deeper. They are beginning to understand that avoiding someone does not erase genuine appreciation. Distance may create space, but it also creates clarity. And clarity has been gently reminding them of the qualities they once took for granted: your calm spirit, your steady presence, and the way you made ordinary moments feel meaningful without ever trying to impress anyone. Now they find themselves standing between what they assumed and what they have finally begun to recognize. One path asks them to keep pretending nothing has changed. The other invites them to acknowledge what has quietly been growing inside them all along. They have not taken that step yet, but for the first time, they are no longer walking away from the question. And just beyond this moment lies a conversation they never imagined would matter so much. It will begin with only a few simple words, yet before it ends, they will realize that the story was never about avoiding you at all. It was about discovering the truth hidden beneath every misunderstanding, and that truth is finally ready to be revealed. Not every truth arrives as a dramatic announcement. Sometimes it reveals itself in the quiet space between two ordinary moments, where the heart can no longer hide from what it already knows. This is where the story gently turns once again. Stay till the end, because the realization that has been patiently unfolding is finally beginning to reveal its deepest meaning. The person who once believed distance would make everything clearer has started noticing something they cannot explain away. Every time they picture moving forward without looking back, one question quietly interrupts every thought: why does this still matter to me? They have asked themselves that question more than once, hoping the answer would disappear if they ignored it. Instead, the answer has grown stronger with every passing day. Then, during an ordinary moment that seemed completely unimportant, they understood something that had been hidden in plain sight. It was never your appearance that stayed with them. It was the quiet confidence you carried without needing recognition. It was the gentle way you listened. It was the calm you brought into moments that felt uncertain. Those qualities remained long after every conversation had ended, and suddenly they realized that these were the very things they had been searching for without giving them a name. Don't skip, because something important is waiting for you. They are beginning to see that assumptions often speak louder than reality. They assumed stepping away would make their feelings fade. They assumed silence would simplify everything. Yet silence did the opposite. It slowly removed every distraction until only honesty remained. And honesty has been whispering the same message again and again: some connections are understood only after they have been deeply missed. Now they stand at the edge of a decision that feels both unfamiliar and strangely peaceful. For the first time, they are no longer asking whether they should keep avoiding you. They are asking whether they misunderstood you from the very beginning. That single question has opened a door they never expected to walk through. One final moment is approaching, a moment so simple that almost anyone else would overlook it. A familiar word, an unexpected encounter, or a quiet reminder will gently confirm everything their heart has been discovering piece by piece. When that happens, the story that began with uncertainty will no longer be about distance. It will become a story about recognition, understanding, and the quiet courage to see someone for who they truly are. And that final realization is closer than ever before. The heart has a way of revealing its deepest truths only after every easy answer has faded away. This is one of those moments. Nothing around them looks different on the outside, yet everything within them has begun to shift. Don't skip, because the quiet realization that follows has been waiting for exactly the right time. Not long ago, they found themselves watching people pass by, each carrying their own story, their own hopes, their own questions. Without intending to, they began comparing every interaction to the calm they once experienced whenever you entered their thoughts. It was a comparison they never planned to make, and yet it happened naturally. That surprised them more than anything else. For the first time, they admitted something they had been unwilling to face. They had mistaken familiarity for certainty and silence for an ending. But silence was never the ending. It was simply the space where understanding had room to grow. Every day apart had quietly peeled away another layer of assumption until only one question remained: what if I never truly saw them for who they were? Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you. They are beginning to recognize that the qualities they admired most were never loud enough to demand attention. Your patience during uncertain moments. Your ability to remain genuine without pretending to be someone else. The quiet strength that never asked for applause. Those memories have become impossible for them to dismiss. And then, almost like the final piece of a puzzle slipping into place, another thought entered their heart. They realized they had spent so much time trying to decide whether to move away from you that they had never stopped to appreciate how deeply your presence had shaped them. That realization did not bring regret. It brought clarity. Now they are standing before a choice that feels entirely different from the one they believed they had before. It is no longer about running from uncertainty. It is about deciding whether they have the courage to acknowledge what their heart has quietly been revealing all along. Something gentle is about to happen, an ordinary exchange, a familiar voice, or a simple reminder that arrives at just the right moment. It will not force an answer. Instead, it will illuminate everything they have been overlooking from the very beginning. And when that light reaches them, the final truth they have been searching for will no longer feel distant, it will feel unmistakably clear.